This is the Infinity Summit Group. Truth, passion, success.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Infinity Summit Group podcast. Today is June 20th, 2022, and we have a special guest on today, a repeat guest, actually. So last week we had so much fun that we asked if he could come on again the next week, and he said yes, thankfully. So it just worked out, but we have Mo on again. Let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. I'm Noah.
Xavier.
Logan.
Jesse.
And special guest, Mo. What's up?
What up, guys? Happy to be back.
Hell yeah. So I realized that last time we didn't really go over a lot of stuff concerning Mo. We kind of got off on a tangent. And so this time we're gonna just go over that stuff first and then see where the tangents take us.
Yeah.
If that works for everyone.
Yeah.
That works.
Okay. So first thing, I want to know, purchasing this home, was that a financial struggle for you? Was that like kind of a stretch? How was that for your wallet, we'll say?
It was kind of a stretch just because I got the 3 kids, got my wife, so you know how that goes. Things just get more expensive.
Absolutely.
And then obviously the way the economy has been going hasn't really helped me out. So I'm definitely I tried to be smart about it because I've heard you don't want to be at the top of your, like, whatever you can qualify for, you don't want to get the home that's at the top of what you can qualify for, right?
Of course,
so you give
yeah.
yourself a little bit of leeway there if things come down or whatever. Well, I knew that, heard that, have seen experiences where that didn't work out, and I did the exact same that they all did, and I got a home that was at the top of what I could qualify for. It is a little bit different. The reason being is we went off of my income for last year and the year before, which I had talked to you guys about, and I told you guys I was getting into the cards. Last year, I spent an enormous amount of money on the cards. The first half of the year, I was much more profitable. The second half of the year, a lot of that profit rolled into the cards and trying to learn them. So I didn't show as much income as if I would have never dabbled into the cards and just continued on the coins. So I qualified for like $250,000, which is nothing to a lot of people, but to me, what I was doing, working from home and everything like that, it was good enough. It's not good enough to be in the valley right now, but it was good enough to get a home in the outskirts, right? Like what I did. So the way I view it is I know I can make more than what I showed on taxes last year because I was doing it the first half of the year. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that home was qualified off me making like $4,900 a month. But I think if I stay away from the cards and different expenses for a little bit and want to, or just force myself into staying in the coins, maybe I can make $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. Now, the reason that I know that's true is because I just barely did my home is in underwriting right now. They had conditions for income verification, things like that, and I had to show my income so far for this year because I'd given them my last 2 years, not really this year. We haven't got that far. So I just did that today, and so far this year I'm just over half the amount of revenue that I was at last year at this point. So basically, let's say this. If I was at $70,000 in revenue last year at this point, I'm at like $36,000. It's actually a little bit different than that. But my profits are actually about the same as last year, even with half the revenue. So my profits have went way up, but my revenue has went down. And the reason being is because I'm not spending all the extra money on cards and things and losing money. I'm keeping it in exactly what I know what to buy. And so the things that I buy, I'm making more money on versus hoping that I make money on it, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
So to answer the question, it was a stretch to get it on paper. I think as I move in and just stick to the coins, because I've been banking up a little bit of money being back in the coins, it'll get easier and easier as it goes on. And then maybe I can reserve enough cash to where I have a pool of cash again, and then I go back into cards or real estate, or because now that I have the 2 years under my belt and I can keep showing I can do that, which I'm really excited about. So that's pretty much where I'm at with the house buying.
Heck yeah.
And
That's awesome.
How much was the house?
It was $245.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Is that after closing costs and all that jazz?
That's after closing costs because it's USDA. Because we went in a rural area, we qualified for USDA, and because I didn't show that I made too much on income, you go USDA, and I guess that's better. No money down, which is like it's a win and a loss. It just means that you didn't pay down any of your principal, but it is nice not having to come up with that right up front. And second of all, I think your PMI, I think that's a little lower with USDA. I'm not sure though.
Okay. Well, I'd consider that a win. I love doing no down deals
Oh yeah,
because it's other people's money you're using, right?
yeah, exactly.
And right now, if your interest rate is less than 8.6%, theoretically they're losing money on it.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, your dollars are losing value at the same rate.
For sure.
However, you can use your dollars to invest now.
Exactly.
Or grow your business or whatever.
exactly. And that's what was really well. The funny thing about that, my brother Haas, he's into loans, and he was the one who told me about USDA. He's like, you should do that. It's the best type of loan, he said, that you can get. Maybe I don't know if you did 20% down on conventional, so you had absolutely no PMI or whatever. Maybe that's a better loan. But as far as for a first home buyer not having money down, that was the best one. And I view it as, even though he said no money down, you still have all of your closing costs and everything like that. And there's and you got to pay for the appraisal. There's things it still cost me like $4,000 or $5,000, even with no money down. So it'd have been
Right.
a lot more. But the way I view that is that 4 or 5 that I do save by not having to put in, or 6 or 7, whatever it ended up being, I can just take that, and instead of it going towards my principal, which saves me a little bit, I can roll it back into the business. If I'm lucky, I make 5x on it over the year. If I'm unlucky, maybe it's double or whatever. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it sounds like you were way smarter with your money.
I try to be.
Did the
Good.
cards not benefit you at all?
The cards?
Was it just a dumpster
Financially? Financially? No. I wouldn't. It's hard. I would say it was a wash, but if you're at a wash, you lost, is how I view. You know what I mean?
fire? Yeah.
Last time it sounded like a not yet.
Yeah.
On the last podcast
On-
last week?
Yeah, on the
Okay.
last podcast.
If Jordan Love ends up being amazing, but the problem with that, then I'll have won. I will have won. The only thing with that is the card market is down so much now, just like stock market, just like everything, that even if he would have to be like top 3, top 5 quarterback in the league for me to make some money on it. And if he was number 1 in the league, I would absolutely just make so much money. But at this point, with him having to wait years still and everything, it's just not likely. So I view it as a learning experience and not really a financial. I didn't really make that much money, or make any at all, probably.
Yeah.
So
We
you-
call that tuition.
Exactly.
You're just gonna hold the cards then for the time being.
I'll hold the Jordan Love cards. Everything else is listed,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Uh-huh.
Heck yeah. And with your coins, you were talking about having goals of making, from what I remember, 10 grand a month off of them, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that profit or revenue?
That'd probably be. I'd like to make 10 grand profit.
That'd be fucking nice.
Yeah, I did 150,000 in revenue last year.
That's crazy.
So
Damn.
yeah, after I just barely saw that because I did my taxes today. So I can do that in revenue, but profit is what I want, obviously.
Right.
But revenue is very tricky because I learned this doing my taxes and have my own business. You could have $10,000 in your bank,
Yeah.
and you could do $200,000 in revenue in a year through eBay or whatever, because you can buy. It gets to your house, sell that exact same thing, buy it, and sell that exact same thing off the same 10 grand over and over. You get and not really gain any or lose any, but just keep trading that 10 grand, and it makes it look like you're doing a lot as a business. And I think that's more what I did last year. That's why I showed a lot in revenue, and that's why my revenues are half this year, but my profits is actually pretty much the exact same, because I was buying cards and selling cards and using that same money over again to buy more and then sell it again, and it was basically sixes by the time it was all said and done with fees and everything. I broke even, but I just kept using it, and it showed a bunch in sales, which the banks like to see that, I guess, but it doesn't mean anything for me.
Okay.
Gotcha.
And do you pay yourself out of the revenue or only the profits? Like, do you pay yourself as an employee of your business?
I do. I am in the process of getting that way more nailed down because I've been talking with my CPA. I just barely, basically I registered my business with the state when I started the business. They sent me a renewal thing in the business, but I was living in Lehigh. I was living over at Max's. I missed it, and I didn't renew my business with the state.
Okay.
And so this year, when I went to renew it, they said, "Oh, you've waited too long to even renew it. It'd been like 2 years since I'd last done it." And they're like, "You can't even renew your business anymore. You have to completely recreate the business all over again." Which I didn't really want to do because I was just in the process of getting home and I didn't want that to mess anything up. But they said it was fine. So just today, or no, this last week, I got it completely recreated, which now, because I have that, I can go to Cypress Credit Union, which is where I've always banked just because that's what my dad did, and set up a business account with them. And then what I'll start doing, which is what everyone's supposed to do, is you pay yourself through your business account. But I've told you guys, even on the last podcast, I'm not doing this the smartest way. I am doing this a lot of just on my own, learning as I go, which I probably wouldn't recommend. But I didn't know you were supposed to set up pay yourself through the business, have your personal separated. So everything I did, I just used my account for. Right. And then at the end of the year, I would just go through, and it sucked, but I would go through and, these are expenses, these are my own personal expenses, and then write off the business ones, and it was a pain. So now that I'm getting that business set up, I will... What would probably be smart, I don't know, maybe you guys tell me, I know my brother Locke does this with his cabinet thing. The business holds money, and then I just pay myself from the business. That's probably what I would do.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Whether that be an hourly or a salary or whatever, that's up to you. But
yeah,
definitely pay yourself from the business and have it. Do you have it set up as an LLC?
It's set up as a S Corp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The way that I did enough... My CPA said if you do more than 45 or 50,000 a year, it's worth it. That's when the amount of money that you save starts to be worth it versus an LLC. So I did just over that amount to where it was worth it to get an S Corp and pay all those fees and things to do it that way. So I pay myself like an employee does. I really don't get all this. My CPA does most of it, and then I try to communicate with her. I've met with her like 5 times to try to wrap my head around. I understand it more now. But I still am confused on all that stuff.
Okay. There's a bunch of books in the Rich Dad Poor Dad series.
Yeah.
Just from his advisors, they have a lot of good information on that stuff.
Okay.
Did we talk about this? I know we did something with LLCs and stuff.
Yeah, we did have an
episode
talking about each one. It was a fairly general overview. I don't know if it would help someone who already owns one.
Yeah.
Well, just you.
But maybe.
Just off what you think, do you think an S Corp is smart or an LLC? Or do you not know that deep into it?
So I don't know as much about S Corps.
Okay.
I do know a decent amount about LLCs.
Gotcha.
So
what's the
I couldn't
difference?
tell you.
We should have it written
So-
down somewhere if I can find it.
From what I understand is LLC, limited liability company,
Yeah.
essentially takes the best of both worlds of like a S Corp and a C Corp and kind of combines it. So you have asset protection and you can kind of run it as an individual or whatever. It's almost like a we'll call it a sole proprietorship, but you can have partners and you have that asset protection for your company.
With an LLC?
Uh-huh.
Gotcha.
And you can do your taxes, write-offs, everything very similarly.
Gotcha.
But I really couldn't tell you because I don't own an LLC right now.
That's surprising. When are you going to get one?
Soon.
Soon.
Yeah, it'll be soon, and this will eventually be an LLC.
Nice.
So we just get to figure out something to sell that creates value.
I gotcha. That makes sense.
Because I don't want to sell financial courses, or I don't want to sell financial advice.
Yeah.
That would require a lot of stuff, and a lot of the major rich, like I made $1 million by selling finance courses.
Yeah.
So that's how you're a financial guru, is you sold your finance.
Totally.
Like, nah.
I think that's what a lot more people do than you think.
So many.
Almost all of them, I think.
Robert
the media.
Kiyosaki.
Really?
Absolutely. That's how he makes a bunch of, he has real estate, of course, but he makes a bunch of money off of selling his courses.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Even in the card game, there's a guy who's one of the top media slab stocks, and I love them. They're awesome. They give the best content, I think. Mm-hmm. And they just barely are doing a challenge where they took like 15 grand and they were trying to trade it and turn it into 30 grand or something like that. And they're super transparent. That's what I like about them. And maybe they'll flip it around. But when they had started off, all their flips that they had started with, they'd lost like 3 grand in like 2 days. So they went from 15,000 to 12,000. I think that's the reality of how it's not as easy as they make it seem. And even when those guys try to do it, not to say it can't be done, but it makes sense that they're selling these courses because the money, the way that it grows and the real estate and stuff is probably slow.
I mean, most of it's bullshit, isn't it? It's all those ads that pop up. Like, we've got so many customers. They made like $20 billion in one week. And it's like, shut up.
Oh, yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, and a lot of them will sell you like 3-step courses or whatever. You know, they'll give you a little taste on each course, and then at the end they're like, if you can't do it by this point, then it's your fault kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not an actual step-by-step guide on how to achieve wealth.
Yep.
And lasting wealth. That's the key.
It's because they can't. If it was that easy, then everyone would be rich. That's how I believe. It's like you can't just teach. And I'm also a believer, if you found something that's making you an enormous amount of money, do you really think you're going to go teach 1,000 other people how to do the exact same thing?
Yes.
And anyone that, okay, if it's slow, if it's real and it's hard and it's slow, then I think that you do. But these people that are promising to get rich fast, you really think that they found a way to get rich extremely fast and they're just giving it away for free? You know, they're not. I just don't think that they would, and they don't.
It's got to pass the smell test.
Exactly.
For sure. If it sounds too good to be true, probably is.
It usually is, yep.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, that's why we do this, and we don't want to sell this shit.
Yeah.
We just want to give it out. It's like, hey, this is our journey. Follow us and watch us succeed while you succeed.
Totally.
So, self-plug. Just kidding.
I think that the smartest. It's been cool to see that game unravel because when I was a kid, before the internet, well, for all of it, like we grew up in the internet time, really cool.
Yeah.
But before that, I do think that like there was even worse than now, the gatekeepers that knew all the information, and then you had to buy through the gate to get the information.
Mm-hmm.
The game has changed, and the people that give away the most content for free are winners.
They're the ones who don't need the money.
Are the ones who don't need the money, but they're the ones who keep getting all of the money.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I see it. And even I guess it was a little bit like that because Warren Buffett was pretty good at that, giving away secrets, air quote, that got him rich.
Yeah.
And I've read his books and listened to how he invests, and it's just simple and it works. It really does, from as far as I can tell. But Gary Vee, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, all these guys, they're the guys right now. They give all of it away for free, but somehow they're multi-millionaires, all of them, you know, just because everybody wants to buy their stuff.
I'm convinced
Because they're valuable.
when and they give valuable information and you use that, who do you think about when you're using this to get successful? When you have something come up that you're like, maybe this is too much money for me, but this person that taught me, this is a great deal, so you reach out to them.
Yep.
I bet that happens all the time. Where
For
they're
sure.
like, this is fantastic, I just don't have the money. Yo, I know this dude that taught me how to do it. Boom, then they get $1 million deal and it costs them nothing except for a little bit of knowledge that they gave to you.
Totally.
Yeah, I bet that happens all the time.
It's got to. I mean, that's like, wouldn't that be the best way to be like, I appreciate all that you've taught me. Boom, here's $1 million deal. I mean,
So you're saying, for example, like Gary Vee, if there was like a card deal that I found that was like $100,000 to buy up all these super rare cards, I would hit him up and be like, dude, I don't have the money. You want to go in on this with me?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
yeah, if he taught you
Gotcha.
how to do everything and you were making good money, you just weren't there yet.
Yeah.
Like, yo, this is perfect for you.
That's like an appreciation thing to them.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
if your dad or something was like, some crazy deal came to me and was like, yo, Uncle Noah, do you want to do this? Because I know you're already into it and you're doing this. It's just, and no, Uncle Noah's taught us a lot. It's, yeah, just an appreciation thing. I think it'd go a long way doing that.
Totally.
It definitely happens all the time. I mean, a lot of these super rich people are pretty cool people, too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just trying to help each other out, help each other get wealthy. Some of them aren't, obviously.
No,
there's
lot
some
of-
bad apples, but generally, I don't know, people with a lot of wealth are kind of, I don't know. I've met a lot of good rich people, you know
Totally.
what I mean? They're pretty cool people.
Very giving, a lot of them are.
Yeah, super giving.
I'm a big believer. I'm always been a believer that you get to those millionaire. The billionaire kind of gets to a little bit different of a game in my head. I could be wrong, but it's like they're just so extreme that to them the game is just win everyone,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But in that millionaire range, I think a lot of people get there, by figuring out that if they give more than they take, then they get more than they give eventually. And when I was doing door-to-door, changed my perspective on a lot of things, because I used to wonder why these millionaires and billionaires and people would buy these super expensive homes in these super exclusive areas. And I think I understand it more now, is it gives you access to all those other people that are super rich and super exclusive and know all these people. And so if you can get in with those guys, you can get in with their groups. If you get in with their groups, you can get in, and it's like everyone's, what do they say? Everyone's one person away from knowing 1 million people, something like that, because every person knows 1,000 people, and those 1,000 people each know 1,000 people. So you're one person away from 1 million, and
it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Exactly.
You know someone that might be able to help you out, and then they do. Then
You're also the amalgamation of your 5 closest friends. So if you're the stupidest one in the room, chances are you'll get smarter.
Totally.
If you're the smartest one in the room, chances are you'll get stupider.
Definitely.
Which is not anything against anyone. It's just the way that it happens, because humans form those bonds and just either fall or rise, depending on who's around them.
Wasn't it Jordan Peterson that said, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have heard that.
I don't know if it was Jordan Peterson, but yes, I have heard that.
I'm not sure who it was either, but
So, doing all this shit, how do you stay mentally healthy? Like, what do you do to keep up your go, go, go? And with 3 kids and a wife, supporting all that, like, what's going on up top? I know you think a lot already, but
I do think a lot. I think a ton. I have a very good family. I came from a good family. That I'm not. There's no making up that. I just gratitude for that. I'm so grateful for that, because I raised up in a good family. I had a great mom, wonderful dad who set an amazing example of you just work hard. That's what you do. You work hard for your family. And my mom was super empathetic. And so I got, like, the way I see it, I got the best of both worlds, the dad who was an example and the mom who was super empathetic. So it's like hard work for being a man, and then just love. I have a lot of love, I think, for my mom. Well, I know it's for my mom. So in my own family, I just think I can't stress enough how much that's helped my relationship with my wife and my kids. And I just barely learned from Jordan Peterson, a video I watched, because his son was saying his 2 goals were a job that's meaningful and family. And that was Jordan Peterson's son who said that. And then Peterson says, oh, so you have feminine goals. And then they both laugh or whatever. But I don't know what masculine goals are then, but I know that I have feminine goals, because that's actually all I want. Family is at the top for me and above everything. And then not work, but a meaningful job, which is what I'm in the pursuit of trying to find, but something that gives me meaning.
what does meaningful look like?
For me, meaning is... It can come back down to what we talked about last week with the chaos to order, but that's a broad statement. To me, it means finding something, these unanswered questions, like I was saying, to help people. That's what I've really realized. I'm not interested in things. I don't care about things. I do not care to be an engineer. I'm horrible at it. If we buy a freaking cabinet from Walmart or IKEA, Maddie assembles it. She literally builds it, and I don't. I'll just freaking throw the screws in the screwdriver. I get mad. So she ends up doing it and does great. But I'm just naturally, I'm interested in people, which makes sense with the nutrition. Even think about that. Like, it's helping humans, not building out or creating things. So maybe it's psychology, maybe it's nutrition, something to do with people that helps heals people's lives. Like we were talking about last week, good and evil. Good is whatever makes humanity prosper more. Evil is whatever takes away from life.
Yeah.
So something that has to do with humans that can bring the most impact to the largest amount of humans that I can get to, while I'm not going to be the billionaire. I'm not going to be that guy. I've realized about myself. Just because I don't care that much. I really don't. I thought I did as a kid. I thought I was that guy. I really pushed it and realized I'm not that guy at all. I don't care that much, because my family is number one to me, and it's not close. So if it ever starts to get to the point where family is being sacrificed for business, I will just throw in the towel. I believe that. Because even right now, I work from home, and I love that. I don't want to give that up. My kids, their lives, my wife, you know what I mean? I'm super about that. So to answer the question, like my mental state, I have to revolve it around that, and that helps. I think that I focus, if I'm getting too depressed or discouraged, I try to just focus on being in the present and just get rid of the noise and just be. I've worked a lot on allowing myself to just be and not always have to have something going on, because that really puts me into a bad spiral down. And I'm trying to be more conscious about when I'm in bad spirals down to like pull out of them consciously. So I haven't figured that out yet, I guess is the simple answer. I still spiral down, I'll spiral up. I spiral down, I spiral up.
Yeah.
Hopefully the whole trend is up overall, but every day is a new day, and I've gotten a lot better like than 5 years ago, but I still have bad days, bad weeks, bad months, I guess, if you look at it on a broad spectrum, and just trying to figure it out.
Why are all of those an overall good for you? The ups and the downs.
Why are they overall good?
Why are they overall good? Or do you feel that they benefit you? And why?
Okay. Unnecessary chaos is bad, I feel like.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is if there's something I feel like I've already figured out the answer to and I relapse into it,
Oh.
it's bad. I already knew that I shouldn't have, and I did it again. I don't really feel like I earn much from that. I just feel like I get back to where I was when I figure it out or when I stop doing it. Things that hit me. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, is it maybe when you go into this unnecessary chaos, is it maybe because you had more to learn?
Consciously? Or just the spirals down in general?
We'll say consciously.
Okay, that to me, if I consciously go there, like the home, I want a home. What does it take to get a home? I need to call Garrett. We have to go look at homes. To me, that's the unknown, so I'm in that chaos zone. I feel like I'm learning there, and I actually enjoy it a lot.
Well, say you find yourself there unconsciously. You spiral down, you're like, shit, I'm right back to where I was. What happened? Is it because you had something else to learn, or is it just because you're repeating old habits and you already knew the answer?
That's a very good question. I think it can be, if you get there unconsciously, I think that it can be two things. It can be that something blindsided you and just spit you out over there.
Okay.
And that now you have to get back and you'll learn. But I do think, so in a way, so viewing it like that, if I get there unconsciously, it's probably actually good, because that means that I don't know why I got there and there was something for me to learn. If I get there consciously, that's bad. I knew why I do this. 2 weeks ago, I was telling you guys last week, I had a bad week 2 weeks ago. Whenever something big happens for me, I need a reward. I've realized that.
Of
I need a reward. I had some coins grade really good, and I made really good money on them, and we got the home as far as we were concerned, and we just had to get to the things. We never went out to dinner, me and Maddie. We didn't celebrate at all. I do think that because we didn't do that, I spiraled down because I was searching for that like relief, and I didn't get it, so I went and found it. And there's a game on the computer that I love it. I'm an addict. I call it a relapse when I play. It's called Overwatch.
Snap.
I love that game. And so I downloaded that, and I played it for 3 days. And then this is a lot better. I deleted it. I downloaded it on Wednesday, played it a few days, deleted it on Friday. So that's really good for me. Because for a while, like in the past, maybe I'd get it and I'd play it for like 4 or 6 weeks, you know what I mean? And it would just throw me off for weeks. Even though I was still being kind of productive, I wasn't growing at the rate that I would like to have been.
Of course.
And I kind of lost my train of thought there, but I guess what I'm saying is this happens to me all the time. And where was I going with that? I forgot the question.
Revenge spending.
Yeah, essentially, I believe the concept you're going to is revenge spending, but in a reward sort of way. You're like, okay, I didn't get a reward for this awesome coin sale. I am going to play Overwatch for 3
Totally.
days straight now.
I didn't even know. So it has a name to it, I guess. Revenge spending?
Well, revenge spending is generally associated with budgeting, where
Okay.
you don't budget any spending money for yourself.
Gotcha.
And then later on, you end up being like, fuck this, I'm spending $300 now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, on your credit cards, you know?
That's exactly right. That was exactly what it was.
So you're realizing, as you take these spirals, you're realizing more and more how important it is to reward yourself when you have good wins.
Totally. I have to.
That's
If I
good news.
don't reward myself, there's no point.
It's no
in it.
incentive.
Yeah, there's no incentive, and
Besides just the next grind.
exactly. It's just ongoing and on and on and on, and no. And I do feel like when you set a goal out, or when you do something that you're super happy about, and you reward yourself for it, it kind of like puts the lid on that, and then you can go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But if you never put the lid on it and be like, "Good job, Mo, that was awesome," and then okay, let's fill up the next jar, then this jar is left without a lid on it, and it just I go and corrupt it or spill it out or whatever, you know.
The winds come and blow out the sand.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Well, it sounds like you learn a lot when you spiral down and spiral up.
Yeah,
In that case,
for sure.
that's awesome. So my whole point to talking about that was just, again, talking about the duality of the brain
Okay.
and how you would not know when you're spiraling up without spiraling down.
Totally.
Kind of thing, you know? So,
But why is it bad if you were to intentionally spiral down a little bit?
Intentionally.
It'd be something like you know better, but you do it anyways.
Oh, okay. That's what you mean by that.
Is that? I'm asking if that's what you mean.
No, I think is that what you mean? Like if I consciously went down. Okay, so
Yeah.
why is that bad? I just think that's bad because it's wasting time. If I already know where that leads, I've already been down that path. I know where it leads me, and I'm conscious of it, but I'm not consciously doing it as I'm rewarding myself for something. So it's not going down the bad, but being like, yes, I want to do this and I'm doing it. It's like being aware that I'm going down the path, but not wanting to. But it's
Okay.
but I go that way anyway, if that makes sense. So I guess
It'd be like letting inhabit take control.
yeah.
I'm curious why that happens with humanity in general, because humans don't do anything without a reward.
Yeah.
They don't do anything without an incentive, right? So maybe those times are quite necessary. and a self-reward, an unconscious self-reward, even if you know it's not good for you. It's like, all right, I can afford to slip a little.
I think I know for a fact it's me searching for an outlet.
Oh, yeah.
It's an outlet. It's like it's a relax. It's easy. I like playing the game. I enjoy it. So what I'm searching for is fun, like an escape. An escape is
An
probably a better
escape.
word. An escape is a better. I'm searching for an escape from the grind. So I will do that, and then it will, whether it's conscious or unconscious.
It's interesting the different things that people find as escapes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Could be anything from drugs to porn to drama,
Oh yeah.
caffeine,
Drama.
baby.
Oh yeah. Drama's a good
all
one,
that
man.
shit. To just sitting on your couch, like, I'm relaxing for a second. I'm escaping everything else.
Yep.
Just scrolling through whatever.
Well,
Very intriguing.
never mind.
What?
Say it,
What were you
man.
gonna
I'm just
say
gonna
it.
say an escape feels like it has to be something engaging that has like no real impact on you. Right? Because
Like a vacation?
yeah, but not
Mm.
like.
So
how would I?
I'm curious to hear what is something that would have no impact on you.
No, I mean like, I have a hard time putting what I'm thinking into words.
It's okay, Bess.
But it's like, for an escape, it would be like I love books.
Mhm.
I love listening to books. Do it all the time at work. That it holds my attention, and it has no impact on my goals necessarily. Like it takes my attention, so in that way it does. But it doesn't. How do I-
But you're checking out of reality.
But that's
Right.
that's a healthy escape though, because people do escapes all the time where it just completely destroys them.
Right, but I could let books take over my account. I could spend $150 a week. It wouldn't be hard for me on books. But there's a I don't know how I want to put this. 'Cause
Did you want to think on it? We'll move on.
yeah.
I think I get what you're saying. It's that when you go into an escape, we all know what we want to be in life, our goals, whether we can write them down and articulate them or not. There's that calling within all of us. You want to have an impact, all those things. When you're in an escape phase, you're doing something that does take your attention off for a while, gives you fun or whatever, but you know it's not getting you any closer to who you're trying to be or what you're trying to bring forth out of the chaos or whatever. That's how I view it. Is that wrong or?
Absolutely. I'm escaping my goals of being a pilot right now by working a physical labor job and waiting on a wait list
Yeah,
instead of moving down to Florida for 3 months and coming straight back and doing it.
gotcha.
So maybe I was thinking just in.
Yeah.
So when you were saying you want to, like, instead of sitting on your phone and relaxing and scrolling, maybe I figure, or what I was thinking at the time was that for an escape to be an actual escape, it has to be engaging. Like, more, like, thought-provoking almost in a way to where you're trying at something. Like basketball, that is absolutely an escape for me because it's physical labor and without having to think about anything but just what you're doing at the time. And then something like social media, in my mind, it takes you to a place where you're not necessarily where you want to be, even if you're looking at good content or whatever.
So
it's not.
would an escape basically be what's the agenda behind it? That's
Yeah,
what makes
I
it
think
an
the
escape.
intent, because
The
like
intent.
my phone would probably be an addiction, but an escape, like, I don't know, like you said, Overwatch, you're going there and you're consciously doing this because that's your out for a minute, that you're relaxed for a minute. I don't know, it's just
I think the line between escape and addiction is very fine.
right.
What's even the difference at that point?
I don't see it.
There's one, like,
I
it's
mean-
got to be intention, right? You're on your phone scrolling like I do all the time. I don't want to be on it. Do it anyways because what else am I going to do? Basketball.
You're escaping.
Yeah,
Which is an addiction.
I'm addicted
Not-
to
not-
that escape
not
from
always.
my phone, but I just don't think that's a very good
I disagree. I do think escape and addiction are two different things. For like
Well, they are in their own worlds, yes.
Because video games, for instance, like I could not play video games for the rest of my life and be happy, but I jump on it sometimes to escape. Like, okay, do nothing for a little bit, for like
Oh,
an
that's
hour.
fair enough.
But I don't care about video games that much, but I do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
But I guess the argument to that point on the other side could be, well, maybe what you're doing isn't the addiction.
Oh,
The escape is the addiction that has to happen, and if it doesn't matter what form it takes, but that is the addiction.
you're addicted to escaping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I could see that be very true.
And then at that point, the question goes to like, is it even bad? Because everyone I've ever met, you have to
Cool
have
down.
you have to cool down. So
I
is
don't
that
think-
how we're wired? I guess is a better way to put that.
I think it depends on what you're doing.
We had this argument last time that bad depends on your context.
Yeah.
Well, and
I'm not going to bring that up again, even though I just
percep-
did.
It's perception. It's how you perceive it.
Yeah.
So is it an escape or a pattern that you're just used to and that's your comfort zone?
That's a good question.
Well,
Both.
being
Yeah,
comfortable
both.
can be an escape.
You
right?
escape so many times, you form a habit of escaping in that way.
Well, isn't this what Eli was talking about on his podcast? The whole point of him going on that 12, 8 days or 7 days, retreat where he meditated for 12
Yeah.
hours a day
Yeah.
was to get rid of, he said two things. It was like,
He doesn't want to be controlled by anything.
Yeah.
Anything. That's why he'll smoke, but then he'll put it down because once he started realizing that smoking was controlling him, he wants to be fully in control of himself.
yeah.
And so he wouldn't let anything in that he feel like he needed.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
The
Which
illusion of control is a funny thing.
The illusion of control.
The illusion of control.
Yeah, explain.
Because
details.
in theory, the only thing you can control is in and of yourself. So Eli has it the closest you can get it.
Yep.
But the illusion that you have control over anything in this life or anything in your world is very interesting because control is like Control for me puts it like things will go exactly this way because I want it to go that way. That is me controlling the situation, controlling myself, whatever. What it usually ends up happening is it might go your way, but it's an entirely different way than what you expected. You know, I imagine you encounter some things like that buying your house, where it's like, this is how it's going to go. This is how we're going to control this situation. And then it just goes clear out in fucking left field. And then you get the house. You're like, wow, I reached the end goal, reached what I wanted. But did I have control of that situation? Maybe not.
For sure. Definitely.
And that seems to be a repeating pattern throughout all of life. So it feels like control in and of itself is an illusion. Whereas instead of just setting your goals and intentions and actively working towards them, whatever way it might work out, seems to be the strategy that works the best. Food for thought.
So the only control you'd have really would be like over your reactions, right? Over the way you move and react to things.
Theoretically, yeah.
Okay.
But even then, your emotions can get you.
Right.
And
but,
everything else can get you.
But
if you
can
were in
stop your
control,
emotions.
that would be what
Can
it
you?
is.
Yes, I believe. I don't know. I worked on that for a little bit, like, because I would get overly emotional sometimes, and it'll like take control of me and what I was doing.
Okay.
But then, if you can kind of catch an emotion within like 10 seconds of it coming up, and choose not to, like, you accept that it's there. You're like, okay, I'm feeling this, but you don't let it control you because
Okay.
you notice it's there. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
if you're about to feel sad, you're like, okay, I know I'm about to feel sad, or I'm starting to get sad right now, and you just choose not to. I don't know. I started
that's a
practicing
thing.
that. Yeah, I practiced that for a while because it, like, I was depressed for a long time, and then I decided that fucking sucks, and I don't want to be depressed anymore. It's bullshit.
But the funny thing about what you said with depression is you can't just say, I don't want to be depressed anymore, I'm going to be happy. It doesn't work like that. I like
No.
that you said you have to sit there and go, oh, this feeling of sad is in me right now. Okay, and acknowledge it and then choose. But that I struggled with for a long time because I just thought, I'm feeling this way. Oh, I'll just be this way. That does not work. You have to just let the emotion sink in. One thing I really liked about Sadhguru, and that guy helped me a lot with my spirituality and my inner peace, he says that emotions follow thought, and people don't know that. So if you think really beautiful, positive thoughts for a week, and then the next week too, then you could have your thoughts and your emotions in line where everything is beautiful. But he was saying that if you think thoughts for 24 hours, positive thoughts, and the next day you're like still feeling negative, but you're trying to think positive, and so you get into contradiction with yourself, and then you start thinking negative for that whole day because it didn't work out. Then the third day your emotion might be really sweet, but you still might be sad about it. But basically he was saying there's like a lag between thought and emotion, so that if you could continue good, beautiful thoughts for days and days and days, the emotions would follow those. I don't know if there's science to back that up, but I know that guy knows his stuff with like the inner workings of the body, and it makes sense to me that we're too sporadic. This moment we're hot, this moment we're cold, we're happy, we're mad, all in a 20-minute time span, and the next day we feel the residual through our emotions of the positives and the negatives, and then they're going against what we consciously think.
It makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And you know what else follows thought is action and reality.
Totally.
Yeah.
So
I don't think
Very
emotion
interesting.
can be controlled.
Not controlled, but more understood, and you
you can approach
can-
it in a different way.
Yeah, you can recognize it kind of, and like choose to see it in a different way, if that makes sense.
Well,
you know what I mean?
According to Sadhguru, it can. He says, which you're just taking his word for it, but he says he's blitzed out all the time. He says there's like happiness, joy, ecstasy, and like blitzed out. And I guess blitzed out and ecstasy is what he says. And he says that all the time he feels blitzed out. And he just feels extremely joyful and good. Is that true? Is he lying? I don't think he's lying. Is he just like the 1 out of 7 billion that just feels that all the time? Maybe. Maybe it's not possible for everyone. But if you sit down, close your eyes, and just meditate for a while, it does seem kind of obvious that you are way more in control than we think we are. But when you're just running around, working and doing all these things fast and not like being meditative to your body, then things are going to run their course. That's what it seems like to me.
It's not being in the present moment.
Yeah.
There's a lot you notice when you actually, I don't know, dial yourself into the present.
Totally.
Because people are always thinking, me and Noah had this conversation, I don't know, you think in the future, you know what I mean? All the fucking time. You're always worried about it, like something's going to come up or you're preparing for it, or, you know, and it's hard to put yourself back in the present moment because that's the only time that exists.
Totally.
Is right now.
Doesn't have to be hard, though.
No, it doesn't have to be hard. I know.
No.
Everything could be easy.
It could be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Alan Watts?
I have, but I haven't done much into him, but I will soon.
It's fucking great.
He's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, if you like. So I listened to Alan Watts before I ever heard of Sadhguru.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed Alan Watts' teachings, as well as Sadhguru. They are on a very similar wavelength, but their teaching methods are slightly different.
Gotcha.
Alan Watts was a professor at a college.
Gotcha. So it's more intellectual instead of experience in a sense?
It was, I don't know what he was a professor of. Might have been philosophy or something.
Okay.
But the way he talks and he thinks through things as he's talking is just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I can get behind this guy.
Gotcha.
He's an old guy. Like all of his recordings sound super old and shit, but I think he was in the 70s.
Gotcha. I've heard
Sometime.
only great things about him. My family's told me a lot
Yeah.
about him, so I will be looking to him. I do got a question for you guys.
Oh.
Do you think it's okay? So we were talking about spiraling down,
Yes.
these negative habits, I guess you'd say, and then we were talking about how every human has them, even if they don't want them, they still do them. Do you think that a perfect person like Jesus, as far as biblically and whatnot, do you think it's possible that humans transcend that and is it possible to transcend that and become a perfect being
Yes.
without all of those things in one lifetime or like in our lifetime? Or do you think no matter what, you'll always have those? Just real quick, because even Peterson, even those guys, they still seem to have them, and they're, in my eyes, they're up there pretty high. It just makes you wonder if anyone in the world right now has unlocked to that transcendent stage where they're above all of the, what's the right word for it?
Minutia?
I don't know what that word means, but compulsions.
Okay.
That's the word I'm looking for, above human compulsion.
No.
No. Yeah.
Not
so either.
not any human.
Gotcha.
Okay?
And right, Jesus wouldn't have been right because he was human. That's
Yeah.
one of the things, right?
So he wouldn't have been
he
like
wouldn't have
ideally
abutted.
he was one of the more perfect beings,
Yeah.
but he's still going to have those compulsions. He's still going to have down spirals and up spirals, but it's going to look a lot different. As one progresses, their down spirals and up spirals look a lot different. Just like you were saying, they delve further into chaos and go further into order. Or they go further into evil, better into good, whatever, however you want to say it. But balance, yin and yang, everything goes back to the average. Your average might raise as you transcend further and further, but you're definitely going to have that stuff.
Gotcha.
A question for you is every time you spiral.
That was only me, guys. You all want to answer?
Yeah, it was.
I said no.
Yeah, I said no.
I was having a hard time understanding your question.
Okay. Do you think it's possible for a human to transcend compulsion?
No. Like what you said, not human. I think your spirit. Could, but
Your compulsions are going to be different.
yeah.
What's the compulsion of God?
I don't know if he has any.
Well, from what we know, it's, or, assuming one believes in God and everything and that he's created all of it, then the compulsion of God would be to create worlds.
Okay, I see what you're going
That's
with
not
that.
necessarily a negative compulsion.
Yeah.
It's just that's his desire,
Yeah.
What do you mean by compulsion, just to be clear?
Compulsion is anything that anything you do compulsively. So it's not like you're consciously, because that wouldn't be a
Okay.
compulsion at that
Right,
point.
right. It wouldn't be a
because a conscious decision to move forward and to create something or something, I guess you could call a goal or a what's a good
Like a
word
mission?
for a mission or
Yeah.
something like that. A compulsion is anything that doesn't have to do with your goal that you do out of necessity to escape.
And I would argue that continues on.
It seems like it does. It just wonder at the very tip top. It doesn't seem like God has any compulsions, and
We haven't heard of them.
yeah, we haven't yet.
We've had the light side talked about
Yeah.
with him, and that's it,
Yep.
which was fair.
The light side.
Like,
He gets fairly dark.
right,
Kills a lot of
right.
people. I mean,
No, people kill people.
he killed a lot of people.
All right.
Well,
Oh God.
Sodom and Gomorrah, if you think about that, he turned a whole city to salt.
Yeah.
So definitely killed people.
That's a good
That
point.
lowered the value of salt. Damn. Shit was like gold back then.
I don't know. If we're getting back into this, it'll be the same thing. Like I don't
Yeah.
think the God and devil are different people. I think it's the same thing, same entity.
The same people, even. They're the same spirit being.
Yeah.
I didn't say that last time.
I
That's
said that.
interesting.
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think there's the devil and God. I think he's just kind of encompassing everything.
But
So that he can learn every lesson
Right.
to be a real God.
So-
so what do you guys think the difference is between good and evil?
Damn it. We can't do this again.
I'm
the
teasing.
intent behind it, period.
What were you saying?
I don't remember, but that's okay. Hold on one sec. I'll figure it out.
That made me feel evil. The question.
Hashing up old shit. That's evil. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I've already said that. I believe the idea of heaven and hell, God and Satan, whatever, was created so that the duality of our brains could process it better, and allow us to better judge we'll say a moral good or a moral evil, based on the fact that life is the ultimate good. We'll say.
Okay.
So I think it was created.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because last time you were talking about, I guess it's not really a question, but it's like, what do you think about the individual? Because I
Okay.
remember last time you almost got into it. Like, I don't know, there's something above the individual. And my personal belief, I think there's nothing. My brain is not working right now. Nothing's above the individual, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
This, I was confused on that for a long time. In the Jordan Peterson biblical series, he talks about how, and I'll butcher it, but before Christianity, there was, so according to what he was saying, humans have lived for thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years. And they kind of lived in like these small little tribes all across the world. The Ice Age happened and pushed people together into communities. All these different tribes had different gods. And when they came together, they wanted to create one tribe. So they're like, we have all these different gods. What are we going to do? We don't want to fight. But we know that your God is good because you're alive.
Right.
Because if your God was an evil God or whatever, you guys would have killed each other off. You guys wouldn't be here. So we all come in. So what they ended up doing is it sounded like thousands of years, they came up with this God. I can't remember his name, but he had faces all around him, or eyes or whatever,
Yeah.
in the front and the sides and the back and everything. And you guys probably heard this. But that God ends up going and defeating this evil, and they came together. Methodistian? What were those people?
Mesopotamian?
Mesopotamian people. Yeah, I can't remember the word. But they had that God, and that was really good, and it put humans on the right path and was starting to like tell the stories of like the good versus the evil, the good God that goes out. And they said that the way that the leader, like the king of their people, every year, remember, he'd have to come down out of the city, disrobe, take off all his clothes or something like that, give all of his gold back, and then say everything that he did wrong in front of the community so that they knew he was still humble and then he could put his robes back on, go back if the people approved, and be the king again. And that was like the thing that all kings did. Well, he talks about that, and then he talks about Christianity, and he talks about the evolution of religion and how in Christianity, what humans basically did. I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, but just to explain it.
Please do.
In ape communities, there's an alpha ape that runs all the apes.
Right.
The apes don't know why he's an alpha because they can't cognitively, consciously think, oh, he does this, and he does this, and he does this. So the beta of the pack, all the betas, they just acknowledge that he's the alpha, but there's rules to the game. And so if you look at one alpha of a pack of apes or whatever what is it, a pack or?
Tribe, we'll say.
Okay,
I don't know.
A tribe of apes. There's certain things that humans can look at and notice why he's an alpha ape. They're actually they're giving. They're not just all tyrants. If they become too tyrannical, the apes will band together and kill them, and then they'll get a new tribe leader. But so humans can go and they can look at the top ape, and they can set aside the qualities that made him the top ape. And then the thing that was cool that humans do is they can take like 8 to 10 different tribes of these apes, and they can take those 8 alpha apes, and they can look at all 8 of them across the board and see exactly how they react and act with the other apes, and they can write down, and they can get a very specific qualities that allow that ape to be the alpha ape. And it's kind of like it is consistent across the board. So the reason I explain that is because now we're humans. Now we've lived thousands of years. Humans do have the conscious and cognitive ability to see what makes him the alpha, and we've written that down, and we got together these virtues, like these principles, whatever you want to call them, of the greatest humans of generation, so many generations, and we said, okay, these are the virtues that are the highest virtues that humans know of.
Right.
And we're going to put them into, because how we learn as humans, we learn by stories. And this is just, I don't know if this is actually how it happened, but this is the story right now that and so we're going to put that into a story format, and we're going to take all these virtues, and it'll be God. And so God now is not a human. He's the collective virtues that cultures altogether have decided that these are the greatest virtues. And you put him up as God. And the reason that that's important is what he says is because then everyone answers to the virtues, not to how they feel, not to what they think is best, but to the virtues that cultures have decided are the highest moral character. And so when you have a king, instead of the king just deciding individually, like you're saying, what he thinks should happen, even if he's a great king, he still has to answer to the virtues. And that's what the Mesopotamia people did when he would have to come down and admit everything he did wrong. It wasn't up to him. It was up to the virtues that the people had said were correct, and he had to answer to those.
Right.
And that seems to be a huge difference between Christianity and other religions that sets it apart. Is it isn't the individual who gets to decide or what they feel or whatnot. There is something outside yourself that's the rule book that everyone has to live by. And what we know so far is Jordan Peterson says that the way you know truth is what has worked through evolution. It's actually like the greatest indicator of what is true, because what is not true doesn't work, and what is true works. And whatever works the longest and has worked the longest is the closest thing to the truth that we as humans can go off of. And if you look at the world right now, and you look at George Washington and all those guys and what they did and what they created and given the individual the power, but they had God all in the because it matters a shit ton, because it's like, even when I'm like, oh, just take God, because they're forcing people to have a belief and a religion. And why do, if there's not LGBTQ in the schools, why do they need to have God in the schools? Why can't it just be scholar? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Why can't it just be what it's for? Well, the reason it was put into the government, put into the schools, put into the culture was because it fucking matters, and if you take it out, there's nothing to answer to above everything else. And there's no rules or virtues that you have to live by. And so I guess that you asked about the individual, but I where I'm going with that is we know that seems to be closest thing to the truth to what humans have figured out, because United States, for a while when it was in its growing stage and when we were living by those principles, it was unlike anything that had ever happened ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I think.
Okay. Interesting.
What do you think?